Hi and welcome to Penser Bank and our interview with Fingerprint CEO Ted Hansson. Hi Ted.
Hi, good morning.
So you released Q4 earnings this morning. And the reaction on the stock market is quite dramatic. It's that puts and takes as always. But if we start talking about the mobile phone market in China, which I guess is still the key topic here. So let's start there. And if we can talk a little bit about consumption at the moment and kind of if you could describe where we are.
Sure. As we also discussed previously, we went from a situation where we were limited by production capacity to a situation where the demand dropped very, very sharp, almost overnight, in conjunction with the lockdowns that were enforced in China in around March in 2022. And that has put a lot of constraints or a lot of impact on our business significantly, of course. So as you know, we built inventory in Q3 and the revenue fell significantly in Q3. Now, as we post the Q4 report, we can see that the supply chain start to move. There is still hesitation to invest and to build aggressively, phones and other devices, but we can see that it's all moving. And as an example, we did post a 33% quarter-over-quarter growth in revenue, or 42% if you look at constant current. Another evidence is that we managed to decrease our inventory. At the end of Q3, it was 412 million SEK, and at the end of Q4, it went down 108 million. So we decreased it with some 26%. So it's starting to move, but the inventory levels, both for us and our competitors, are still too high. So over time, when we manage to release more inventory, we expect that this will have positive cash flow, of course, since we're selling from inventory.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, there are several parts of this, I guess. But if you were talking about, I mean, you're in the middle of this, and I think you've said before when we spoke last time after Q3 that you were talking about at least 1 to 2 quarters of this continuing, and I guess is this still the case? That I mean, 1 or 2 more quarters is what we should expect before normalization.
Yeah, so what we say in the report is that we expect there will be impact from this excess inventory, at least for the first half of 2023. So now, if you look at the OEM side, with the visibility we have, we can see that their inventory levels are normal, or in many cases below normal, because they are hesitant to invest and build new inventory, so to say. We can also see that the module houses start to place orders to the distributors whom we are selling to. And of course, we have a good understanding of the inventory levels at both the distributors and the module houses as well. So the supply chain is moving. However, the demand is still, not so strong. And there is also many competitors to us that are in the situation where they have excess inventory, and this is causing this margin pressure, especially in the mobile capacity that we're seeing right now.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to point out here that I mean at the end of the day you saw higher revenues in Q4 than you did in Q3, and is it reasonable to expect that this trend will continue, so that I mean, the worst was Q3 and we had that behind us. Is that a fair conclusion to make?
Well, as you know, we are not giving any forecasts, so I cannot comment on the next quarter, so to say. But the system is moving, or the ecosystem is starting to move. It will be, it all comes back now to what is the demand. And as consumption increases, so, a large part of our customer base are Chinese OEMs, and a very large part of their business is actually in China. Now we start to see that the restrictions are gone. People are back in the street. People are back, out. I just heard that, for example, the cinema ticket sales during the Chinese New Year was 30% higher than a year ago, even though there were no restrictions 1 year ago, or at least not so heavy restrictions. So there are indications that consumption is increasing. And I believe that over the next period, we will see more and more positive reports from China related to consumption. However, it takes time. It will be a gradual, but over time, I'm sure we will get back to the historical demand that we have seen, the levels we have seen in smartphone previously over time. But I'm not in a position where I want to comment on Q1.
Fair enough. And if I ask it differently, not just ask about you, I mean, all else equal, would you expect that mobile phone sales have seen the lowest point and have been moving upwards and will continue to move upwards towards normalization, as you said?
Well, the latest external benchmark from companies like Strategy Analytics and similar companies actually show that there will be a decline in volume in 2023 compared to 2022, and then back to growth from 2024. I think it's still early in the year. We will have to see how it develops. But I think this year is still a lot of uncertainty on the total demand. As you know, we also have the macroeconomic factors. We have the global economy and so on impacting the demand globally. It's not only about COVID.
And then on a different topic, if you move away from capacitive sensors to mobile phones in China, and we talk about optical sensors, because we see some movements there as well, and it's a completely new market for you. And at the end of last year, you got your first large volume order for a sensor, for an optical sensor. Talk a little bit about that and what it means for you.
Yeah, that is correct. So I think it was December 30th, we announced that we received the first volume order for our FPC 1632, which is then our under-display fingerprint sensor solution. And of course, I'm extremely pleased with that. There are basically two technologies that dominate biometrics in Android phones. You have the capacitive part, where we have been leader for many years. It is roughly 2/3 of the total volume. And then we have this under-display segment, where the bulk of the volume is this type of under-display optical sensor that we now launched, which is roughly 1/3 of the total market size. If you look at it from value perspective, these two markets, the optical and the capacitive, are actually quite comparable in size, because the ASP for the optical is higher than the capacitive. So in essence, it means that we, from value perspective, almost double the TAM that we can address now in the Android segment, which of course is thrilling, right? And we made a first announcement on the first volume order, and I'm hoping that we, over the next period of time, will see more launches with more customers and more models. So this is something that we see as a potential to really generate a lot of growth for us by entering this new segment.
And I assume that you are building a pipeline as we speak, and then of course you cannot go into details, but does it look optimistic?
I mean, we are a well-known and established supplier to basically everyone who is doing Android phones. We have relationship with everyone, and we have defended and increased many times our market sharing capacity, and we have done that by exceeding or meeting customer expectations, providing high quality, fair pricing, and so on. And all these ingredients are of course applicable for the optical as well. So in my view, there is nothing limiting us from achieving, over time of course, a similar success also for the optical sensors. We are a welcome and in many cases preferred supplier to our customers. And of course, we are now promoting extensively, or have been for time, promoting extensively our optical solution as well. And that is our firm belief and our firm goal, that we will grow market share in this segment. But of course, it will take time. It will not go overnight, but definitely that's our clear ambition.
And another topic that may not happen overnight, but still is happening as we speak, is PC. So
Yeah.
PC has, of course, become increasingly important when the mobile phone market in China has been in turmoil. And you also see PC shipments, if we talk about the market, are falling. I think
Mm.
the institutes who are doing these forecasts are talking about 10, 12, 15%, something like that. But you
Mm.
still expect to grow in the short term as well as the long term. Explain how these things hang together and how they relate to each other.
Yeah. So you are right. If we look at the latest external statistics, there is a expected decline in the total volume. I think the number I have is around 7%, but I'm sure there are different, analytics with different reports for 2023 compared to 2022. If you compare it to 2021, which was a peak year for laptops, the decline is of course much larger. So first, I want to say that 2021 was a very special year for laptops. We had the pandemic that caused offline schools and also a lot of home office, and that triggered a lot of laptop sales in 2021. So 2023, the consensus is a slight decline, or a decline. Sorry, it's a decline in the total volume for laptops. However, if you look at the biometric attach rate, it keeps increasing, and our estimate is that it will fully compensate for the time decrease, so that the number of laptops sold with fingerprint sensor with biometrics in 2023 is not going to be less than 2022. And given where we are today in the PC segment, I don't see that TAM is a big issue for us to meet our growth goal this year. So we are working on increasing market share with existing customers and winning new customers. And the PC industry is, I would say, more conservative than mobile phone industry. You have to stepwise increase your market share. You have to stepwise enter different segments within an OEM. So there is a lot of work ongoing that will help us to increase the market share and the volume with existing customers. We also announced that we have started developing an in-house microcontroller unit, or MCU, and we will start customer engagements in the second half of this year according to our plan. When we do that, we will be able to offer a complete biometric system. We have the hardware sensor, we have the MCU, and we have the algorithm that is running on this MCU. So we will deliver the whole biometric system. And there is a trend now in the PC industry, and Microsoft is endorsing this, that the OEMs should use this higher security architecture, which is known as match-on-chip architecture. And our MCU is designed to cope with those requirements. And we are on the approved vendor list from Microsoft for this type of architecture. So this means that with our MCU plus our sensor, we will actually be able to make a system optimization. We will be able to remove margin stacking. We can control the supply chain better. We will be able to deliver better value to our customers. They will get more performance. And I'm confident this will help us to also achieve a growth. And then in addition, we have this trend that a larger part of the total volume is moving to this match-on-chip architecture, which has a higher ASP. So I'm very positive about the outlook for the PC market. And there's clearly a lot of opportunities for us to grow, even in 2023, when, as you say, the total number of PCs is actually declining.
Mm-hmm. And if we just stay a little bit with the match on chip and match on host, is the match on chip has traditionally been enterprise computers, whereas personal computers for has been match on host. Is this moving as well? That is Microsoft trying to get match on chip for non-enterprise computers as well?
You are absolutely correct. So Microsoft, per the latest information, will require this match-on-chip architecture by the end of this year, regardless if it's a consumer or enterprise model. Otherwise, you will not be allowed to use it for Windows Hello certification. So the market is clearly moving in this direction. And this is something that we see with the OEMs as well. The cost structure is significantly higher. So a big part of the market, maybe 50% of the market, has been using this match and host solution. And now we see the OEMs planning and start to run the project and move it towards match and ship. And if nothing changes, per our understanding, it will become mandatory for new laptops by end of this year.
If we move on to the other segments, so we have two segments that we haven't touched upon, and if we just touch shortly upon access, which has historically been a lot of locks, smart locks in China, and the Chinese market has been difficult. So maybe talk a little bit about what's happening in access.
Sure. So, you're right. Traditionally, the largest part of the access revenue has come from Chinese door locks. And in 2022, we managed to maintain a very high market share in this segment. However, the Chinese door lock market did not perform very well last year. And that is entirely related to the COVID restrictions. You need a person to come to your home to install the door lock. You were not allowed to have visitors. You were not allowed to move around. So very hard to install it. The other area is, of course, new construction, which also was heavily impacted by COVID restrictions. Basically, a lot of construction work was put on pause and put on hold. So we expect that this market will grow in 2023 and onwards. Outside the Chinese door lock, I'm very happy with the progress we have made in winning new designs with non-Chinese customers. And this is something where we are actually putting more effort now into business development, into sales. We see that we have an opportunity to short-term impact that market and drive our growth in that market. So I think this is becoming a strong growth area for us. We also launched FPC 1523 last year, which is for the access market. It's a fingerprint solution based on a single die, so very competitive cost structure that enables functions like ciphering and encryption, which are then required for security applications in the access domain. So we have a new product that is very well aligned with where those customers want to go. So we will spend more effort and we are looking for growth also in the access part outside China for 2023.
And if I look at revenues in total and put all these pieces together, it was about 30% outside of capacitive sensors for mobile phones. And you guide for this to go to 45% in 2023. And I guess the 30% is a good benchmark to use for Q4 rather than for the full year. And this estimate still holds to 30 to 45%.
Yes, you're right. I mean, it's not that long time ago that 90% of the business was mobile capacitive. So diversification is happening. And typically the areas that we are entering, like access, like PC and payment, where it's growing, have better margin structure, allows better margin than the traditional mobile capacitive business. So based on our latest or current understanding, we stand behind this 45% target that it will come outside mobile capacity by the end of this year. So please note that this 45% includes mobile under display. It's all the areas outside mobile capacitive that we guide will be in the range of 45% of the revenue by end of the year.
Yeah. And you were mentioning payments, and this is of course the last large area where a lot is happening. Give us an update on where we are in terms of pilots and launch of new banking cards, etc.
Yeah, so today we have announced 10 commercial launches. And as far as I know, globally there has been 14 launches, announced commercial launches. So our market share is quite high. We also mentioned last year that we expect 2 more very shortly. That will bring us to 12. When it comes to competition, I think this is needed. If this market is going to happen in a large way, in a big way, there needs to be competition. Competition is healthy, and it's not something that we fear. We feel very comfortable about our position in the payment card market. We have a very strong product offering. We have outstanding performance. We have a competitive cost structure. If you look at the partners we have, they are world leading. And look at the customer base. We have launched with some of the largest banks and so on. So we are, in a good position. And I think that some competition is needed to speed up the adaptation and roll out this faster. So we welcome that, and we hope it will help to create more business for us.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, I completely agree with you. But on that topic, is it? I mean, we have IDEX in Norway. You are kind of head-to-head competition at the moment, and then you have Samsung coming in kind of from the sidelines. But I haven't heard much about Samsung and how successful they've been. Do you have an update for us on that? Have
Well,
you seen anything?
I know that they got an award at CES a few weeks ago, but per my understanding, it's the same solution they showed the previous year. So I think that they are trying to enter, and I mean Samsung is a big company, it's a global company, so I think this is a healthy thing that they also enter. But I cannot say that we are astonished or see that they are ahead of us when it comes to the offering. So once again, we welcome competition, and we hope they can help to create this market using their channels and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And we are ready to face them anytime, anywhere with our solution.
But then, from what I understand, they have their own secure element, right? So they are also competing with the likes of Infineon, etc. And there's nothing that has changed when
That is
in regards
absolutely
to that.
correct. Yes, and as you know, we announced a new collaboration and commercialization agreement with Infineon. So in essence, we are developing a system in package SIP solution where we are taking our sensor and their secure element into one package. So this will reduce the BOM. It will simplify integration. It will allow card manufacturers to use their existing equipment also for biometric cards. And this is a very important step in achieving mass volume and to be able to produce in high volume. So that solution, it is also, if you look at the offering from Samsung, their package is in a similar fashion, I would say. So they are, trying to do what we are doing.
Okay. If we move down the P&L a bit and then talk about profitability, and then maybe we stay on the gross margin. I mean, margin was up quite dramatically compared to Q3 if you take away the write-downs. So I think gross margin was up from 12 to around 20% in the quarter. This is lower than last year, but again, it's quite a sharp upturn. Is it just volume here? I know that you're implementing cost programs. Have they started to impact yet? Is there more to come, etc.?
Well, when it comes to margin, so we have a strong price pressure on mobile capacitive that I already elaborated on, but we do see that the other parts of the business are taking a larger share, and that in itself is in general positive for the margin development. And as the other areas continue to take a larger part, we expect that we'll have a positive impact on the margin development. And at some point in time, when the balance between inventory and demand is reestablished in mobile, I have good hope that also the mobile margins will return to more, let's call it normal levels. So it is going to be, like we said also in the report, we expect there will be impact from the mobile price pressure the first half of this year. So that is where we are when it comes to the margin. Sorry, what was the second part of the question?
No, it was the cost program. So you're also implementing a cost
yes,
program.
sorry.
Where are you in terms of that?
Yeah, so we announced that we would reduce the OpEx with roughly 80 million SEK. We announced that in the middle of last year. And you cannot quite see all the effect in the Q4 report. Some of these items are only giving impact end of Q4. So when we exit Q4, we are where we said we would be. We have done what we said we would be. Most of the cost savings we've done were related to staff. So we have reduced staff to reach the OpEx target. And of course, as any other company, we need to continue to monitor the situation and make sure that we do everything we can to return to profitability. But there are no major programs that we plan to announce right now.
Okay. Well, if I kind of try to sum up, I think time's running out. It still feels like the market is still difficult, but as you say, it's moving along the value chains in the mobile capacitive in China. It's moving along, and I mean we did see an increase quarter on quarter in Q4 versus Q3, and then we'll see how that'll develop throughout the year. But again, it's moving along, and then the other areas are growing quite well, especially on the PC side, which see quite okay volumes. And then in terms of margin, I mean, we should see more of the cost program, and then I guess as volumes come back, then we should also see the margin normalize.
Yeah,
The
I
fair
think that's a
conclusion.
fair summary.
Okay, well, excellent. Thank you very much for coming here to talk to us, and speak to you soon.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And you. Tjena, är ni kvar?
Yes.
Yes. Det gick väl okej, va?